Hey guys, my name is Nora Franche, and welcome to the podcast Grateful Blessed Mess, daily reflections for those in the 12 steps. I am a fellow 12-stepper and certified mindset coach, and I am here to introduce you to the value of mindset coaching in your 12-step journey. So if you feel like you are stuck in the steps, if you're slipping and sliding with your abstinence, mindset coaching may help you as it did me, and you can find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. These episodes are meant to invite you in to consider the truths of 12-step wisdom and to join in the very real struggle of living them in action. I hope that it feels almost like a mini meeting, and I invite you to contribute your own share on the Grateful Blessedness Facebook group to keep the discussion going. My comments are based on my own experience, so feel free to take what you like and leave the rest. But my hope is to encourage you on your own daily 12-step journey. As they say, you cannot stay clean on yesterday's shower. So without further ado, let's begin. Hey there, guys. I hope your day is going okay. I hope it's going fine. I hope it's a fine day. Doesn't have to be great, but, let's call it on the plus side as opposed to the negative side before we move into this. We are reading from Voices of Recovery, June 6th. We then find that to deal with our inner turmoil, we have to have a new way of thinking, of acting on life rather than reacting to it. That is from the OA second edition, page 2 to 3. Sorry, Overeaters Anonymous, the brown book. It seems that all my life had been a series of reactions from fear, anger, or resentment toward others or situations, or from my own negativity or shame. To deal with my despair and inner turmoil, I had to stop blaming life and find a new way of thinking. With help from the OA program and my higher power, I learned that I can accept others as they are. I learned that I am not a victim to life. I can care for and be responsible for myself and my thinking. I can consciously choose positive thoughts and decisions that enable me to act on life one day at a time. Any time that my food obsession returns, it is a sign for me that I need to look at my reactions to people and things. I need to willingly take responsibility for my part and for my happiness. I need to own my own power to take action. Today, I follow the 12 steps and act on life. Yes, this is a program of action, and more action. And something that I've kind of come to determine on my own is that it's almost like we are meant to love in every moment, to allow ourselves to be loved and to love, others, God, and ourselves, our higher power and ourselves. And that takes action. And so if you think about it, if you're feeling stuck and stagnant, chances are there's an absence of love that you're feeling, which is why those places are so yucky and uncomfortable. Because love requires action. Because love, I'm going to get a little theological on you here, is an exchange. And if you think of, I'm Catholic, I don't hide that. And so I believe in God, and for us, God is the Trinity. And that's three persons in one. And what it is a perpetual exchange of love. It's constantly this back and forth of loving and being loved and allowing yourself to be loved. That's why we say God is love. My higher power is love. It's this perpetual exchange. It doesn't sit. It doesn't rest. It's constantly pouring itself out and being poured into. So love to me is action. So where something is inactive, it's spiritually dead because love is action. Okay. All right. I put on my little philosopher hat. Back we go. It seems that all my life had been a series of reactions from fear, anger, or resentment toward others or situations, or from my own negativity or shame. And I think this is where I kind of used, not intentionally, but I did my 4-step wrong. I feel so many times, because in the 4-step, we're supposed to list where we have resentment toward persons, places, things, institutions, right? And I listed my anger, my resentment towards these things, but I had a lot of trouble finding my part. And I know that you're supposed to. If you got Mr. Brown in the big book, how does that affect me? There's that column. How does that affect me? Well, it affects my my finances. It affects my sexual life. It affects my own sense of safety, And I think what I needed to dig deeper into recovery and my own spiritual healing is not just to name what it affects. And by the way, I know there are lots of ways of doing a fourth step, and I do not know them all by any means. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. If you found a better way, it does not mean that there's not a better way available in the steps. But I'm saying that the way I did it, I didn't really dig down to the root because I didn't identify my part in it. Or not to say that I'm the reason why this institution upset me, but why the heck am I still hanging on to it and harboring all this anger? So it's that's where coaching came in and continues to come in. It's okay, I see that you're angry, and I'm not telling you shouldn't be angry, and I'm not saying what they did wasn't wrong or hard or hurtful or anything like that. But let's talk about this anger that you have and how it's serving you, or perhaps how it's making you sick, spiritually sick. They say in the big book, resentment is what the number one offender. And really, truly, that is, resentment is unforgiveness. And that is the greatest block to the spiritual life, which I know I've said. And that's why we have to look out for these things. We have to constantly be doing a step 10. Because when these things come up, it can be like a little cancer to our soul and to our recovery. And so these things where life had been a series of reactions, and we're looking through, we're kind of doing our fourth step, or we're doing a mini fourth step in our step 10. And we're noticing that we have fear, anger, or resentment towards others or situations, or from my own negativity or shame. What I have come to learn how to do is to sit down with that anger, to sit down with that resentment or that shame. And first off, get to know it. Because it doesn't help me any to be to bury it or try to pretend it's not there. We hear it described as like a beach ball. It shoots out the other side. You're I'm not angry. And poof, oh, shoot. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hit you over there. And it's because all of a sudden, I'm fine. And then I lose my temper at something for some random thing and someone for some random thing. And it's just taking everybody off guard. And you're oh, that's what an unprocessed emotion does. I am so sorry. Can I get you some ice? We try to bury it. We try to hold it under the water, and it shoots out sideways. So we have to sit down with our anger, with our fear, with our resentment, and we can process it. And that's something that's so helpful for me with coaching. I get to process emotions, my emotions, with a coach, with someone. And then, first off, often it won't go to despair, because I've stopped it in its tracks by calling it by name, by calling it out, which we talked about with fear a couple episodes ago, and then sitting down with it at the table and understanding how it's affecting me physically, and then where it's taking my thoughts. And then I get to decide, once I've laid all this out on the table and decided and seen how it's affecting me, I get to choose, do I want to continue these thoughts that are leading to this anger and resentment, or can I get to a place of forgiveness? Because I think that's really what the fourth step is calling us to. And I didn't get there in the steps. And so, I don't know. The steps are beautiful and amazing, and I think, God inspired and led. But I will say that I know it kind of brought me to a heart posture of forgiveness with a lot of things, and helped me put a lot of things to bed. But I challenge you, if you're feeling stuck in the steps, it may be from a lack of forgiveness in your heart toward yourself, toward other people, places, and things, or toward your higher power. And I think for those of us who got stuck in our step work or are stuck, I think perhaps that may be one of the biggest things, weighing us down and dragging us back in the steps, is this unforgiveness in our heart. And for any of you who are struggling, who have done a fourth step, and you still have that list of resentments and fears and all those things that you listed, I would go back to it. And if you want to do this with coaching, awesome. If you want to, like working through the thoughts and stuff and processing the emotions around those fears and anger is great. But on your own or with your sponsor, I would go through each one and either forgive, and they do talk about that actually, having the if I'm still resentful, like trying to treat them like a sick friend. But I would go through every single one, the resentment prayer. So yes, the big book touches on this. It just doesn't call it forgiveness. But I'm pulling you a step further, and I'm challenging you to literally say the words out loud. With the help of your higher power, to either forgive these person, places, or things, to forgive yourself, or to forgive yourself for the anger and fear and resentment that you've been holding on to, and then to give that to your higher power, to step 3, to turn it over and let it go. And so either to forgive or to pray for the willingness to forgive, or to pray for the willingness to want to forgive. And to do that every day. Every day. If you are stuck in the steps, if you're slipping and sliding in your abstinence or recovery, I bet this is a big chunk of it, is this unforgiveness in your heart. And the only thing that we can do, because this is a hard, ingrained habit, this unforgiveness, I'm speaking from experience here. This is a hard habit to notice. It's a hard habit, even after you've noticed it, to stop doing it. And it's almost a default. My body's learned it so quickly. My mind, shifts gears into this so quickly. I often can't catch it, and then I just see it. And I'm like, wait, how did you get here? Okay. And then it slipped in through the back door because I unlocked it. And then it takes me weeks and weeks of praying and forgiving and asking for help and turning it over and letting it go. And let's face it, there's some stuff I've been working on for years that I'm still trying to work through and forgive and let go and turn over. And part of that is because I don't do this every day, and I'm encouraging it because I know it's necessary. And I want to do it every day, but sometimes I forget, and it's just not as much of a habit yet. And so every day to do this, or to pick one and to do that one for, a month or less if it's really gone, but to give it a month to like be relieved, to be transformed, to be truly handed over. And then if it's not, you just hand it over to God and just say, okay, I'm still not in a place of forgiveness, but I'm going to put it on your little bulletin board over there with a thumbtack, and I'm going to go to this next thing because I don't want to stay here forever. Because that's not good either. So anyway, I challenge you to either find your old 4th step and pull it out, and to work through each one of those angers or resentments or fears to get to the point of forgiveness. And if you're not there, to pray for forgiveness and to use that resentment prayer that's in the big book. And then do that and get back to me in 6 months and tell me if you've moved forward in your step work as a result of coming to a place of forgiveness, of praying for the willingness to forgive, of asking your higher power to relieve you of that resentment that you're powerless over at the moment because you've abdicated your free will, because it's become a bad habit that is now tying you down and keeping you stuck. And now you get to do the hard but happy work of untethering yourself and asking for the grace from your higher power to do it all along the way. All right. With that, I pass. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you feel that mindset coaching could help you on your 12-step journey, please feel free to reach out and find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. But more than that, it's important to me to give listeners like yourself a place where you do not need to feel alone on your 12-step journey. And for that reason, I've created a Facebook group. It's called Grateful Blessed Mess. And it's a place where listeners can go to add their own commentary on the share for the day, in addition to my own, and for us just to have a conversation conversation or start a back and forth where people can find support in their 12-step journey. This is not a replacement for 12-step work. This is something outside of the 12 steps. It is simply something that has a heart for the 12 steps and those who are in it. And so, welcome. If you are here, chances are you may also be a bit of a mess. And I hope that you can learn to find some gratitude in the blessings that have come from your messes.